готовского слава с тобой.
Hello, my name is Steve Spoonamore, and I'm doing the second in what is apparently a series of partial commentaries about environmental understandings. And today's commentary is Gay as Actions Sometimes Make Up for Our Oversights. The hierarchical nature of food chains is evident even to the novitiate observer of the wilds. In most cases, however, a lineal food chain does not lead to a single apex consumer, but an interlocking food web leads to related and codependent chains and codependent consumers. These population webs tend to overlap and be very stable, with fluctuations of any one of the peak consumers or even intermediary producer consumers to stay in a narrow range of competitions. It would seem that when nature has a food web with many top dogs, a total balance is preserved. There are a few isolated biomes or locations on the planet where an exclusive or near-exclusive top dog exists, and these are governed by a greater population collapse and expansion model outside of what we would consider a normal range for a single population. In one of the very simple examples in nature, and one of the few, abundant Arctic plants and lichen lead to abundant rodent herbivores, hares, voles, moles, lemmings, etc., which leads to an explosive and very quick excessive population of Arctic foxes and raptors. Overpredation results, obliterating the herbivore population. The raptors, being winged beasts, leave. However, for the territorial foxes, what then intervenes is internecine consumption, starvation, and disease. These reductions are often locally catastrophic, and the recovery from them is usually by external migration, not internal regeneration. Some Arctic environments have been studied where the animals' communities have been wiped out from hundreds of predators to less than a dozen in a single year. Amazingly, Homo sapiens blithely continue to assume that this is not relevant to our behavior. We have finally managed in the last 100 years to interconnect all existing food webs on our planet, placing ourselves as the end consumer of all formerly independent web sections of the network. We have simplified planetary complexity of protein distribution, placing ourselves in the same dubious position as that of Arctic foxes. It should come as no horror, having engineered this Pyrrhic victory, that locally catastrophic eruptions of starvation, internecine consumption, and disease will follow. Somalia, like all of sub-Saharan Africa, does not suffer from anything the interjection of peacekeepers can solve, unless the peacekeepers are willing to massively kill the population, as apparently was done at least for a brief time in Cambodia, under which Pol Pot set a very interesting example of achieving the only zero rate of population growth in Southeast or Central Asia for a 2-year period by systematically killing as many people as were born. With this temporary reprisal past, they have returned to the same double-digit birth rate the rest of Southeast Asia enjoys. The Arctic foxes and ourselves are also in a similar situation. It will be very interesting to see how many Homo sapiens can be sustained by the planet in our now totally interconnected apex food web with us in the position of the Arctic foxes until a complete collapse is upon us. It'll also be interesting, and whether it ever happens, if people will stop saying, "Hey, congratulations!" every time they find out a friend of theirs is pregnant.